This Steve Jones Show podcast is now loading. The Steve Jones Show podcast is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Purdy Insurance, Brewers Outlet, and Sunbury Motor Company. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Great to have you with us today. Brought to you by our good friends at Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury, Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. Ford, Kia, Hyundai, best in new inventory. And I know that because I'm a Sunbury Motors customer. Great pre-owned inventory with the Sunbury Motors guarantee. Lots of pre-owned inventory on the lots. And also the fact that it eases the buying experience. Terrific service department. Quick lane inspections, routine, difficult, all at Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. Rich Scarcella at 2:05 today. Tomorrow, Matt Catrillo, followed by Neil Coulon. On Wednesday, we'll lead off with Jack Ham, and then the voice of Oregon football, Jerry Allen, will join us on the show Wednesday. So that is the lineup. I hope that meets with your approval, Todd.
Perfect.
All right, so there you go. Very nice. So that's the lineup. Look, let's just get the basics out of the way to start the show. Oregon is really, really good. Penn State is really, really good. Now we're going to find out over 3.5 hours on Saturday night who's better on that particular day. That's what it comes down to. Both teams are really, really good. And that's what makes these games fun. These games are fun because both teams are capable of doing outstanding things. Dante Moore, give him a lot of credit. And I mentioned this last week. He transfers into Oregon from UCLA. And at UCLA, look, he'd had a couple of problems with turnovers. Gets out of there, transfers to Oregon, and then Dylan Gabriel transfers in. And instead of sitting there and saying, oh, man, what kind of mistake have I made here? He patiently waits behind Dylan Gabriel and learns. And now you see him play, and once again, his issue at UCLA was turnovers. You watch him play now? No. He's taking great care of the ball. He moves. He ran more against Oregon State. But he moves well. And what impresses me is that you can see him throw from the pocket. That's expected. You see him throw rolling to his right. That's expected. But what really impresses me was that he doesn't have to do it very often, but when I've seen him roll left, that's where I've sat back and said, wow, let's give him credit. He squares those shoulders. He's accurate throwing left. Very, very impressive. And the running backs, I know Whittington has not played the last 2 games. And I expect him. I mean, I would be shocked if he was not ready to play in this game. Yeah, I would be. And the wideouts, Bryant's really good. Benson's really good. Decorian Moore, the freshman's made a big difference. And I am a big proponent of how Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end, plays. He's really terrific player at tight end. Blocks well, good receiver, good player. Offensive lines play better than I thought they would. Defensively, they're bigger up front than they were last year. I think getting Bear Alexander really helped. Betcher, 28, the linebacker, reminds me so much of Carson Bruner. And the week of the Washington game last year, I talked repeatedly about Carson Bruner, what a really good football player he is. Betcher's very much the same way. Tiedemann, the safety, and Mixon, by the way, the other linebacker, 54. I like him too. I think he plays well. And the secondary, Tiedemann, I always thought he was one of the better safeties in the Big Ten anyway when he was at Purdue. Candidate's been a good player for them at the other safety spot. And I've got to sit down and, I got to give credit where credit's due. The two redshirt freshmen and the true freshman Brandon Finney, they're the other three safeties, secondary spots. They've all played well. Kicking game's good. Same punters as Boise State last year. The return game is good. Bryant's a really good punt returner. And they're just a really good team. They're really well coached. I think Dan Lanning's terrific. We already know that Joe Lorig is there, who was on the Penn State staff for a while. Joe's a good dude. And they're really good. Let's not... to say they're not would be ridiculous. And Now, are there certain factors that come into play in this game? Yeah. In other words, what surprised me about the Oregon State game on Saturday was how few tackles for losses the Oregon defense had in that game. That surprised me. I thought that'd be the kind of game where they'd get 6 to 8 of them, and they only had a couple. I was surprised by that. And Oregon State at one point ran the ball pretty well against them. Okay. We know what Penn State did in the running game against them last year. And they're a team that usually gets off to a quick start. Since 2022, they've scored 187 points off their opening drive. They were 3 of 4 in their opening drive this year, 4 of 4 to open the second half. They've also played the one road game, but the one road game was at Northwestern, where the attendance was 12,023. There will be 99,000 more fans here this time. As I said last year after the Ohio State game, and I've already mentioned it a couple times in the show last week, what really impressed me about Ohio State last year was that crowd was wild, crazy, into it, the whole thing, and Ohio State never flinched. Not one false start penalty. And look, I watched them play. They weren't even close to a false start. You want to talk about an operation and a discipline? Ohio State showed that last year. The question's going to be, with two relatively inexperienced tackles, compared to the two NFL guys they had last year, will Oregon be able to do that, or will they pull a Texas Tech? Texas Tech played at Utah on Saturday and played really well, except for one area. They had 8 false start penalties in that game. 8. And Rice-Eccles Stadium seats 45,000. not 111. So, I mean, that's going to be interesting to see how they handle it. They may handle it beautifully the same way that Ohio State did last year. And I thought it made a big difference for Ohio State as to how they handled it last year. Or they could have communication problems because they haven't been in this spot. There's only one way to find out. Get loud, have a great time, and see how it plays out. But they're really, really good. And Penn State's really, really good. Now let's find out Saturday night how it plays out.
I actually think my favorite part of this is we don't really know how good either team is.
Right.
We both know. I mean, we know they're good, but we don't know how good yet.
Right. And we'll find out. I mean, that's, I think going into this game, I think we knew back in June and July that this is exactly what we were going to be saying this week. Because I looked at their schedule and I saw nothing on it that to me was even remotely a threat. And I did the same thing looking at Penn State's schedule. So we're saying that all the things that, and thinking the same thing that we would have thought back in May and June. Is that fair?
Yes, except I'm not sure I realized Oklahoma State was that bad.
Yeah, I mean, the Tulsa game was a big blow to them. Tulsa had not beaten them since 1951. So
when you're setting 74-year records, it's probably not great.
It's not great, no.
I just found it odd. Like, I guess he's passed away now, hasn't he? T. Boone Pickens.
Yes, he has.
I was going to say, I guess the family's not subsidizing like they once were.
No, they are not. And that's made a big difference there. I mean, you look at Texas Tech, Double Eagle Energy, the Twins have stepped up in such a big way, and you saw that what it meant and what it means for Texas Tech football. They're just a much better team now because they were able to invest the money in the roster before the June 30th deadline, and it's made a big difference. And I give Joey McGuire credit. He's brought that roster together. They're playing really well. And they played a terrific game at Utah the other day. Terrific game. And especially when the starting quarterback got hurt. The true freshman Hammond comes in at quarterback and played brilliantly. I was really impressed by how he played. Threw the ball really well, ran the ball well. Like, wow. Impressive-looking player.
What proves the Texas Tech guy has more money than God? The amount of money he spent on the defense or the amount of money he's spending on those commercials? All that TV time's not cheap.
No, it's not. But I'll say this about spending of money. You have to spend it wisely. Because, yes. Look at the New York Mets. I mean, I know that's your team, but I mean, he has invested a lot of money in the Mets on player personnel, everything like that. And the Mets are very good. But right now they're hanging on in this thing.
Yeah, he's just going to spend more.
I know. Yeah. I know, but I mean, because I'm not trying to put the Mets down. Yeah. I'm just saying you can spend a lot of money. The question is, do you spend it well? Did you pick the right people to invest the money in? Now, sometimes it takes time. With like the initial, like Trey Turner's a great example. Got off to a slow start. I mean, look, because you're trying to earn all the money at once. You're trying to prove to everybody you're worth it, and I understand that. Right? Or you get a guy that's hurt all the time. I'll give you an example, Trevor Story. Trevor Story hurt. You know, the Red Sox made that big, they picked him up, 7-year deal, the whole thing. Now this year he's healthy, and guess what? He's the team's offensive MVP. He may not be hitting 300, but he's their offensive MVP. And, you know, so sometimes it takes a little time. The initial rate on return for the Mets has been, like, good, but, like, Mets fans, you're one, probably expected more, right? So.
A little bit more.
Yeah. The UCLA game, by the way, is 3:30 on CBS. So that'll be 3:30 on CBS. They made the announcement today. Once we get around to that, we'll talk about it.
So 12:30 out there?
Yes, 12:30.
That's not too bad.
Oh, no. It's the same. It's the exact same scenario as
here.
Same scenario as they had with USC last year.
Yeah.
It's no different. No big deal. Yeah, I think that's fine.
It's better than the Michigan State USC kickoff.
I went as far as I could. I think I got probably to the early stages of the second quarter. I couldn't go any further.
Well, I haven't heard much since then. I mean, I know that it was moving his extremities, and they took him to the hospital, and then they had they probably had a 20, 25-minute delay at the end of the first half for an injury.
Yeah, they did, yeah. And I wasn't watching when that happened, so I don't know.
Well, I was going to say, I went to bed when they were coming out of halftime. It was like 20 after 1, so it wasn't over to almost 3, I bet.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I made it to 12:15 or something like that. I'm like, I can't go any further. You know? Yeah. The Eagles game yesterday, if you want to know why they call it gambling, okay, that's gambling. Because you are sitting there and what was the Eagles' 6-point favorite?
I think so.
So you're sitting there on the final play, and the expected result 99.8% of the time is going to be either wide left, wide right, it's good, or blocked, and they just let the clock run out, and that's it. Right?
Pretty much.
Okay. So you're not. So if you had taken the Rams to win, okay, you're waiting for the kick. If you'd taken the Rams with the points, you're secure. Either way. Eagles fan sitting there, geez, I bet on the win, and minus the points. Oh, and then that happens. That's called gambling. That's called gambling. Where you just sit there and go, you have to be kidding me. Really? That happened on that play? And how about Jordan Davis? He lost the 20 pounds. They clocked him at 18.59 miles per hour running that back. That's impressive. 18.59.
Can we create a planet if Josh Simmons and him start running really fast and run into each other like that?
Yeah. All right. Now, the game itself, again, remember when the Chiefs were on a roll and everybody was talking about, they get all the officiating breaks, right? That was the thing for a while. Well, the Eagles are getting the same thing. That was really a poorly officiated game yesterday. My goodness.
Did you see they called 2 false starts on tush pushes in the late games?
Yeah, in the late games they did. Not in the Eagles game. When I'm watching, again, the same thing. I'm not watching for it, everybody. I'm not watching for it. I'm just watching the game. And I'm watching they're down by the goal line. I'm like, oh, geez, they jumped again. Right? And then no call. I'm thinking, I swear they jumped on the right side. Okay? And I'm not watching for it. I'm just watching the game, like I watch anything. And so they show the replay. They're way offside on the right side. Was it Steen, the right guard?
Yeah.
He's way offside. Like, what are we doing here? I mean, don't tell me you're looking at it closer. And then that happens. Stop it. That's 2 weeks in a row where the Eagles have won a game in which the tush-push play, they're way offside. I mean, not even, I don't mean marginally offside, Todd. They're not even marginally offside. They're way offside. Which backs them up 5 yards, and now, I don't know, does he kick a field goal or not? And if they kick a field goal, they would have lost each game. Right? Rams don't need a field goal at the end if... I mean, that, again, bad. A.J. Brown, who had a terrific game, especially on the game-winning drive, he made just 2 great plays. But on his touchdown catch, it's offensive pass interference. He clearly pushes off. The 15-yard penalty on Puka Nacua for taunting, he's looking up at the scoreboard, flexing and then pointing first down. Where's that taunting? What are we doing here? God, if you don't want to make a mockery of your game, and again, I give the Eagles all the credit for coming back and winning. That was marvelous.
Party time, game time, or just fun time. Doesn't matter what time it is because it's Brewers Outlet time. The Beverage Supermarket has the area's largest beer selection. Imports, microbrews, ciders, and domestics. Pick from over 100 ice-cold 12-packs and dozens of 24-ounce singles. Soda, snacks, hot sauces, fresh roasted peanuts. Make it one-stop party shopping, and don't forget the pickle bar. So whatever you're celebrating or just doing it up, Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street, Sunbury wants to see you. And thank you for your years of patronage.
Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Now, from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Half hour brought to you by Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. Auto, home, life, business, boat, motorcycle, RV, Medicare. Medicare open enrollment's coming up in just a few weeks. And they want to make sure you're fully insured, and they also want to make sure that that they save you money wherever they can. Customer service means everything to them. All at Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. Indiana just annihilated Illinois. 7-7 game. I think they're bringing off, 56 unanswered points. I knew Illinois was going to have a little bit of trouble when I found out that Xavier Scott was out. And then in the first quarter, when Miles Scott, the other safety, was tossed out for targeting, and I said, boy, they're in trouble now. And they were. And I thought going into the game, Illinois was going to win it. Then I found out Xavier Scott was out. I said, okay, that doesn't help. Then I found out, watching the game, when Miles Scott got hurt, I was like, yikes. But Indiana played great up front. It's the first time I had seen Fernando Mendoza play really impressed with his accuracy, his poise. The running game, good. And defensively up front, they played well. They owned the line of scrimmage against Illinois, and I did not think they would own the line of scrimmage against Illinois, but they did. Credit where credit's due. Steve Angeli, unfortunately for Syracuse, is out for the year. Achilles injury in that Clemson game where Syracuse won. Clemson's now 1-3, and they're 0-2 in the ACC. They're big trouble. We talked about this on Friday. As I said, I admire Dabo Swinney for having standards. I always admire that. But in any business you're in, and Todd knows this, Todd's in the print business, you either adapt or you die. And Dabo Swinney has not adapted. That's a big issue. You have to adapt in every business you're in. And we've seen coaches that who have hit the apex of their career and have looked around and said, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore. Mike Krzyzewski, Nick Saban, Roy Williams, Jay Wright, where they looked around and said, look, this current climate as to how, no, it's not for me. Dabo has been very successful, but what happens is that when you achieve a level of success, you can't, and I'm not saying he rested on his laurels. No, I'm not saying that. But the world around him changed, and he did not change with it. He did not want to. Whoa, here's one for you. How about this? Bruce Pearl now expected to retire as the head basketball coach at Auburn.
Is he running for governor?
Now, I don't think the retirement. It may not be for this second, but it may be the end of the season. Auburn went to its second ever Final Four. They were number one for a period of time, won 32 games. Now the question is he going to retire now? Because preseason practice begins, I think, tomorrow.
Well, they had a weird offseason. I mean, obviously they had the graduation losses. I thought it was weird that Manzera transferred out.
Yeah.
I mean, they only really have the guard back, I think.
Right. The question is whether, Stephen Pearl, his son, and the associate head coach says he expected. Okay. I see. I got it. Okay. Yeah. Should he retire, it's going to be, he'll be done. Stephen Pearl would take over as the head coach, as an interim head coach.
I do remember reading at the end of the year that they were trying to talk him into maybe running for governor of Alabama.
Oh no, he's always been somebody that has had has not been shy about expressing political views. He's always done it in a very classy way, not vindictive, but he's always expressed his political views. He hasn't been afraid to, as to where people know where he stands. Question is, do you want to run for governor? Because my understanding is in Alabama, Tommy Tuberville may be running for governor.
Well, no offense to Tommy, but I think Bruce can outsmart him.
No, I'm just saying though. But they both would be Republicans.
Yeah.
I mean, do you want to go through a primary against a sitting senator?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much you're following that, but they're pretty on Tommy because he doesn't live anywhere in Alabama.
Right.
So that might be part of the issue, too.
It could be. I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying, though.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be running against him in the general election. In all likelihood, he'd be running against him in the primary.
Well, it might not even be for now either. I mean, I I think they're already in the midst of it now. So,
yeah. So that aside, if Bruce Pearl wants to go into media, Bruce Pearl, during his 3-year show cause, I thought was outstanding in media.
I was going to say, wasn't he on ESPN?
He was on ESPN.
Yeah.
He was on Sirius XM. He was terrific at it. I mean, well-spoken, articulate, insightful. So if he wants to go into that, he can. And it's interesting because, Jay Wright's out at CBS,
Yeah, I did see that.
Right? That's his choice. I mean, he made that choice. I mean, CBS, I think, would have wanted him to keep going, please. Because Jay, I thought, was great on TV. But, yeah. So there you go. Bruce Pearl looks like he's going to announce his retirement. And again, I believe practice begins tomorrow.
I can't remember what you said a couple weeks ago to help you, if it's today or tomorrow.
I thought it was going to be today, but I think somebody told me Thursday that it started tomorrow. Yeah. But back to Dabo now. I mean, we're in a different era now. I mean, you notice how Urban Meyer has not come back.
I don't know if Urban Meyer's body could handle coming back.
No, but I think there's just so many elements now to this and I admire the fact that Dabo has his standards and he wants to maintain his standards. But all of us in every business adapt. You've adapted in your business. You've had to. You've had no choice to keep, that's the only way to keep your career going. I mean, have I adapted in my business, even subtly in terms of how I do games, how I go about it, things like that? Yeah, I've made adaptations. Right? I have stuff on my charts that I've taken out because I've adapted, and I've added stuff in because of how I've adapted. You have no choice. Because the key is to keep your career going. And right now, they're not winning. They're 1-3.
I was reading something on it yesterday, and I guess they actually did spend some money in the portal and spend some money this year on their defense. And somebody, I think it was one of the athletic writers, said it's not that they don't have talent. It seems like they're unprepared this season for some reason.
I'll tell you, a big blow for him is when you have a successful program, which he has had, which means you have a successful staff, which he did. Remember, Brett Venables is the head coach at Oklahoma. He is no longer the defensive coordinator at Clemson. Tony Elliott is the head coach at Virginia. Now, how much longer, we'll see. But they are coming off a win. Right? But Tony Elliott's now the head coach at Virginia. He's no longer the offensive coordinator at Clemson. And I think that has played a role in what's happening there. The people that they hired are, I'm sure, fine coaches, but they're replacing people who are outstanding.
Well, he's on his second or third coordinator since Tony Elliott left, I think.
Yeah, because they can't find the right guy. I mean, look, he just let Venables do his deal. Right?
What's Dabo's background?
He was a wide receiver at Alabama.
I was going to say, is he an offensive coach?
Yep. So
I couldn't realize it's like his 18th year there.
Yeah.
Remember when I just remember when they thought that was such a horrible hire.
Oh, I know. All right.
I'm interested to see how this plays out because I don't think they'll fire him, but with the amount, I mean, that because they owe him an exorbitant amount of money in a buyout, and it's who are they going to get that's better?
That's the question I ask all the time. Firing somebody is easy. That's easy. Okay. Now here's the second question. Who do you want to replace him? Suddenly it's not so easy.
And I guess the other thing is he willing to change? I mean, does somebody have enough backbone to sit him down and say, this is obviously untenable, sir?
I don't know.
And if he's not willing to change, does he resign? Because I think Mike Gundy's in the same boat.
Yeah, well, Mike Gundy's got big problems.
Yeah,
I mean, they may have the same record, but his problems are bigger at Oklahoma State than they are at Clemson. I don't know. It's interesting, but yeah. How about Bruce Pearl? Wow. And then, by the way, Syracuse fined for faking injuries against Clemson. That's nice.
Clemson doesn't really go that fast, do they?
No, they don't. Yeah. It's trying to slow our tempo down. It's like, I'll never forget the Iowa game. Was it 3 years ago out there? And that was, remember, P.J. Mustafer got hurt. And it was out for the season. He's laying in the field, crowd's booing. Like, I'm looking over at Jack. I said, every single time a Penn State player went down, they kept booing. I remember one of them was Jonathan Sutherland, and it was the official that told him to get on one knee because he thought he had a concussion, which it turned out he did. The official told him to get on one knee. Boo, what are you doing? Penn State's slowing the game down. The official's the one that stopped the game. If you want, we'll do a seminar here, and we'll hand out rule books at the end of the game if you want. And it was, Jack finally said to me, it was in the middle of the second quarter, he said, what's wrong with these people? And I said, I think it's the wrestling thing. Because it's Penn State football, and the fact that Penn State wrestling is just like taking everything away from them. I mean, Penn State really is taking everything away from them in wrestling. I said, they hate Penn State no matter what. And, yeah. I said, and they're irrationally booing everything Penn State does because Penn State, you talk about tempo? I'm looking around like, what are you booing for? You guys take like 35 seconds off the 40-second play clock every time. What tempo? Everyone's aching for you to play faster.
That made me think, the officials have a little discretion on that new rule now, right? So if the ball's spotted and the guy tells Jonathan to take a knee, they're not costing Penn State a timeout for that, are they?
No, not on that.
All
no.
right.
No, not on that, because this is the official telling him. Okay? He was trying to stay in the game, and the official told him to get on one knee. Like, okay. And they're boo, Penn State. I'm like going, hey, over here in the back, if you want, we'll be handing out rule books here at the end of the second quarter. You guys want to read them? Take a moment. Yeah. That was that. There are very few games I've done in my career where I was disgusted by a crowd. I was disgusted by the crowd at Iowa that day. And I've done night games there and have thought nothing about it. I've done basketball games, thought nothing about it. I mean, really, nothing about it. That day bugged me because guys are legitimately getting injured and you're booing. What is wrong with you? And I was like, that was bizarre. Bizarre. Oh, well. It's in the past, but still, it bugged me. Yeah. So, oh well. All right. Bruce Pearl's going to step down. We're going to talk with Rich Scarcella next half hour. Get his thoughts on Penn State to this point and on the Oregon game coming up. Again, Oregon's a terrific team. Dan Lanning has done a really nice job with that program. He really has. You know, you're talking about a guy that didn't come in with a ton of head coaching experience in his career, and he goes out and he's done just a really nice job with that program. I mean, credit where credit's due. You know, Will Stein is offensive coordinator, really, really good. And it's interesting. Everybody has their own spot as to where they do things. Andy will call the game up in the box. Jim Knowles calls the game up in the box. Will Stein calls the game in the field. Very interesting.
I'm wondering, you know, I would like to see the, you know, because I feel like those guys are the type of guys that look at the game as like a chessboard. So
yeah.
you think you'd want to see the whole board, but you also think, you know, standing on the sidelines, you get a lot better of the feel of the flow of the game, though.
It depends. It depends. I think a lot of times, like, if you're on the field, you get that direct one-on-one communication with your quarterback when he comes off the field. Right?
Yeah.
I think that helps a lot. You know, what are you seeing? This is what I'm seeing. I'm with you. I'd rather have the higher view.
Because they have the tablets now, right?
Yeah, they have the tablets, so you can use those anytime you want.
I was going to say, so I mean, if you're on the sidelines, you still get that look if you're on the tablet at least.
Right, you do have that. But I think it's all preference. I mean, Tom Bradley is the defensive coordinator. Tommy wanted to be on the field. Manning was on the field. Bob Shoop was in the box. Brent was on the field. Brent was in the box. Manny was on the field. Tom Allen went from the field to the box. Jim likes to be in the box.
Speaking of Brent, did you see they decided to add to their football budget now, Virginia Tech?
Yeah, I saw that.
Thanks, guys.
They're going to add $229 million to their athletic budget, I think, or something like that.
Hey, could we have done this last year, maybe?
Yeah, you know, a little late on that, but you know, we'll see we'll see how they spend it and go from there. I don't know. So Rich Scarcella next half hour mentioned Matt Catrillo and Neil Coulong tomorrow. Jack Ham to open the show on Wednesday. Jerry Allen, the voice of Oregon Football Wednesday, right after that at 1:35.
I checked with Jerry this week because I figured, you know, Steelers and Ryder Cup.
Yeah.
Not thinking all those guys are in Dublin this week.
Oh yeah, they're all in Dublin.
Yeah, I forgot the Steelers are going to Dublin this week.
Well, no, that's why I mentioned that to Rob when talking with Rob on Friday.
I think the suit was talking to me.
Oh, just stay out of the way. Well, at least he's got Thompson Street Stadium in his rearview mirror. So,
yeah, I'm sure he's quite excited about that. Actually, the way that looks like the season's shaking out, that's where they're going for their playoff games. So I wouldn't quite say I'm out of there. He's out of there yet.
Beloved in Jersey Shore.
Let's be honest, beloved everywhere.
Hello? Hello?
You're still on.
Did you say something?
I did.
I'll make sure I heard it right.
You did.
Well, it's a good long-term employment move by you. I'll back you up all the way, pal.